what's good with your family? But the real reason most people can't focus, is their environment, and it causes them to lose sight of, the bigger picture, which is you. A lot of people ain't gonna tell you this because they want to feel better or superior, but you are the main character in your life, whether you want to hear this or not. No one can tell you anything to feel like they are above you because it's not that we are all equal, but we are all living and having an experience on different things in life. So there's really no right or wrong to what you are doing, family. It's just you are getting different, people's perspective on life, and you're questioning their thought process. But yeah, family, take that into accountability and remind yourself that, I gotta focus on my life because, I'm the one getting everything done for my family, and especially me, I'm the man. I'm looked at like a king, yo. So if I'm not doing nothing or I'm not building up a kingdom to find myself, well then I'm only gonna be looked down upon, yo, for doing nothing, And now that I have energy within myself and I feel truly living, yo, God's creating, me here to be something special for myself, yo, because if I didn't see it back then, yo, I only see it now, family, The only thing that will stop you, yo, is your thoughts and being around others, yo, that are not on the same weight, as you, family, because this shit is about your universal code, man. Your vibration, that's the language that you follow. That's what your heart wants. It desires change. But your ego wants attention, validation, or it craves, being around others, yo, to soak up energy. But you don't need that. You're a chosen being. You already have full energy, yo. You need clarity. And you need to reflect on yourself. And the reason you feel why you truly came down here, yo, you don't know why you truly came down here. But deep down inside, whatever you're good at, that signifies what you are truly good at. So fulfill that here because you were put down here for a reason. So get good at something, family, And getting good at something, family, does not require you to necessarily build a high skill or know people in packs, yo. Know yourself because it starts with you feeling good within you. Because naturally you're gonna attract that shit to you, yo, because it's gonna get to a point when people feel a presence that they can't run from. You know why? Because it's gonna irritate them. That's what you are, yo. You're a demon irritator, yo. Because you're like a bright light that can't turn off, yo. Because you exist. The thing about you, yo, is you reflected. You faced yourself eons ago. That's why you're here. And you see a bigger dream. Somebody better. Not everybody sees that, family. That's why they love comfort. Their dreams are foggy. And they have no motivation for life. That's why being around those type of individuals, y'all, can cause you to be stagnant or you will lose sight of, the bigger picture, family. So I remind y'all to get in a state of isolation, y'all, to build. You're in a building phase right now, family, especially since we're in the beginning of the year. Don't worry about people, if they're not going to celebrate with you or if they're not going to build on them, Because if they can't help you, they can only push you far away from the goals. But that's just reminding you, though, of, how society is functioning in our family. You don't have to be around others to be somebody better. You're not better because you're alone, but you're getting more knowledge, more clarity, and you're getting better, awareness with yourself, family. That's even better because you know who you are when they don't, family. Think about that, yo. A lot of people, they choose distractions over long-term jeopardy, things that might help them in the future. That says a lot about people and their characters, family, I told you, family, there's gonna be a lot of people who are gonna depend on others, and there's gonna be people like me and you, yo, who are already making it to the finish line. because they love doing something that they wake up and are good at, family, Back then we all went to school, we didn't want to do it, but we all had to somewhat at a point focus to get out that hole, right? Because even if you didn't care and you didn't want to do the work, you couldn't get through it, So we all had to, get through the work. So that signifies, with a little bit of, dedication and patience, you can get far, You don't gotta go to college. You don't gotta work a job your whole life, You just gotta have some clarity and you gotta have a belief in yourself, Because remember, when you lose focus of your identity, and you don't ever want to lose focus of your identity, because then people are not gonna know who you are in a sense to where they feel that you are respected, But one thing I want y'all to, take from this video is that whether you are lost mentally or you lost someone physically, that doesn't make up who you can be. That only, stops you now if you let that, everything around you, is, something that occurred, And the only thing you can do is react, or, you are the reviewer. So that's why I always tell everybody who watches these videos that your power comes from your belief and from your energy alone, People are not gonna feel you or, say you're good at something, They're not gonna tell you that you are good at it. They will never, for the fact that they don't get that maybe in their life, People don't treat them in a sense to where they want to give that to other people, or simply, because they don't feel that within. So their spirit's naturally, has sunken, and it's just, used to negative shit all day, That's why people, they love to be slumped, or they have ideas, but they never act on it, And I remind their family, don't want to be like those type of people, But just think about it, If you don't believe me, study your reality, And you will see that there's more people, struggling because they choose to. You can always start something, but it's based upon, your mental capacity and how much you can endure, A lot of people can't endure loss. That's why they are facing that rabbit hole right now, But not you, chosen one, and that's why you love the change, because your art changes every time, But you stepping out in the world and affecting it, One thing I want to remind y'all, family, is that, if you feel lost right now, ask yourself, what is it that I can do in the present moment to feel that I'm doing something that makes me feel truthfully, happy about me, Whether that's working out, going on a run in the park, or just even speaking good, affirmations to yourself, like I am well deserving, I am healthy, I am strong, I am intelligent, And you already know you are, So, the only thing that, people, let me just say this, family, the world is based upon, imagery, if you want to say that, but false imagery, because imagery is something that you see with illusions, your eyesight. Physically, you see things, right? Images or imagery. Whether you give it power is based upon how you feel about it, Some people don't like watching certain things, or some people, they don't like, watching TV in general, because they're, giving your energy to something instead, you want to be building something, Not for others to watch you, but for you to grow, for you to watch it in front of your eyes, family. That's when you feel like life is truly deserving or worth it, because if you're depressed now, I was once in your position. You want to feel like life is worth it for you. But how can that be, if you're not fulfilling something that makes you want to live truly? Only will then, what makes you feel like life is truly worth it, But yeah, it gets really deep out here, family. So, I just remind y'all, man, keep your energy within you, And don't, spit it out of you. It's like spilling your favorite drink that you're trying to consume. But Once you drink it all, yo, now you gotta go spend your hard working money to get another one. You know, that's why I say, family, your energy is everything. It might not seem like it, but would you rather feel like you're healthy, full of energy, or tired, can't get up, and you're weak? You know, energy is all that matters, yo. Because if you don't have energy, you can't function. You can't get your day fulfilled. You can't win. You want to win, right? But to win, yo, you gotta put things aside. You know, the days that you say, "Oh, I'm not gonna do it," well then, you will end up regretting that shit when you're older, yo, because you were younger, you could endure more. You know, a lot of people say when they get older, yo, they don't enjoy, working out or lifting and shit because it affected their body. That's why I say, family, focus on something you enjoy doing, family. I'm outside with it, yo, because it's a cloudy day, It was just raining heavily. And, the background shows you that, there's no darkness without no light, family. So live in both realities and learn from them, You get stronger when you accept, what it is that life is throwing at you. Because the only thing you can do is react. Whether you are happy, you grieve. But it doesn't stop you from being locked in, y'all, because you are truly focused, But if you are focused or if you are lost, you will eventually catch up because it's going to get to a point where you're not going to tolerate nothing, y'all. Because you want to put yourself first, as you should, though, because you're living in, your story. Everybody has, a book. They are not the book, but their life and how they lived it. It's gonna be written down upon how they lived their reality, yo. And they're gonna be able to go back because they can relive the past, yo, mentally. And if you go within, yo, you can fully see what I'm talking about. Because now you sit with yourself, yo, and are viewing your thoughts, whether they come or go. But I'm not gonna make this video too long, family. Just remember that your thoughts make up your reality, because what you think of, you attract. And if you don't attract them, y'all, how come it, say, someone wants to get skinny, yo, they don't just get skinny, yo, unless they put that work in, So when you say something or what you see, you also have to put that work in, family. So it can fully, happen faster, family. But don't let no one tell you that you're lost, yo. You're just starting. You're early, And it's not that you're lost, yo. You just got so much time to, start and, push it out, yo. Family? For someone, yo, who just begins at anything, yo, whether they are good at it the next day, it takes constant routine, for you to show that everything is working in progression, But I'll see y'all. Remember, don't let no one jurisdict what you got going on, yo. If they are lost, well then, you know who they really are within, yo. And you know that you gotta separate yourself. Because winners hang with people who are free-minded. Free-minded individuals were the only ones that won because they wanted to be something for themselves. They thought, they thought about that shit, y'all. And you must think about it as well, family. But I'll see y'all. Keep your head high, chosen one. Stay up out here.